What's up, guys? Josh from Navigate the Wild, and today we're taking a family trip all the way to Palatka, Florida, to a tackle shop called Bass Tackle Capital. Say that 3 times fast. We're going to go look for some specialized baits. I want to see if I can get some extra large worms, maybe like a 10-inch jelly worm, some jigs. We're going to look and see what they have and see what we pick up for this season. So we're really enjoying fishing season and can't wait to get into a spot that specializes in all these little things. Palatka has the St. John's running through it, and it's one of the most iconic bodies of water for largemouth bass fishing. It seems appropriate to take the trip, so we're going to go spend a little money on some tackle. Let's go. All right, we arrived. It's a lot further than I thought. We are actually in Interlachen, Florida, past Palatka. And I don't even know what I'm getting into right now. We're going to see what happens. This place is like, I don't know. It could be a diamond in the rough. It could be a nightmare. Let's see what happens. So we got Bass Capital Tackle. I'm gonna go inside, see what they got. Well, we got some baits. They didn't have a huge selection. She said they had been there for about 4 years. I'm gonna do some reveals later on. Show you what I picked up, some plastics, some divers. So before we get to talking about the tackle shop, I just want to back up in time a little bit and tell you how I even started buying tackle out there and what I was actually looking for. Going back many years, when I first started fishing, my grandfather moved to this part of Florida back in the 70s. It was a no-name town at the time, and he was a big bass fisherman, loved to bass fish. And so I started coming to town and visiting him in the summers, and he taught me how to fish. And I remember one specific year, it wasn't time to come up and see him, but I spoke to him on the phone and he said, "Hey, I got you your own tackle box." I don't know, I was probably like 8 or 9, maybe 10. It was an Eagle Claw, and to me, it was like, oh man, this thing is awesome, it's mine, you know? So that summer I get there, and I want to fish. Immediately, he had a dock, bass fish, carp, brim. I wanted to fish. And he looked at me really upset, and he said, "Josh, I had to give your tackle box away. I had to give it to a kid in the neighborhood." And I'm like, you know, why? What happened, you know? And I didn't understand until many years later. My grandfather was a quad amputee. He had no hands or legs. And that is how I knew of him the majority of my life. I think there's one photo floating around, I might even have it on a video, of him with limbs, but he was in the midst of having amputations. So I think in total, he wound up having 29 total amputations. Really rough life. And he couldn't cut his own lawn, and they didn't have much money. And so he bartered that a neighbor boy would cut his lawn, and he in turn would give him fishing access and this tackle box. And so I understood, you know, it is what it is. I didn't understand the whole money aspect of it. Oh, Grandpa doesn't have the money to pay for his lawn to get mowed. You know, I don't know. It just didn't register. You don't think like in terms like that when you're a kid. But years later, he comes into some money, and I remember him, he never said it to me, but it always made me feel like I'm going to make it up to you. And so we would go out to Palatka, Florida. We would go to this one specific tackle shop, It was no bigger than my garage, and they used every single inch of this shop to pack with tackle. And they had stuff from local guys, the big box dealers like Berkeley, super expensive stuff, super cheap, everything under the sun you can imagine. This tackle shop had it. So yesterday, me and my kids and my wife set out to find this place. And I thought I found it on my GPS, on my phone. I thought I found it. So we get up and we're gonna go. And we go and we're driving and it's a great drive. We have a great time. I'm fighting a cold, which sucks. But we still wanted to get out of the house, and so we did. I end up at Bass Capital Tackle. I thought this was the place. It kind of even looked it from the outside. It was really small, but going inside immediately, I knew I was in the wrong spot. Me and my wife started talking about the spot that I was actually looking for on the way back because we couldn't find it on the map. And maybe one day I'll take a drive out and just keep looking, but it probably was at least 20 years ago he took me to this place, and he took me 3 times. And so we would go in and he'd go, all right, whatever you want to get as far as tackle goes, you can buy. And I'd leave with just a bag of stuff. It was great. But this wasn't the place. Bass Capital Tackle. I'll tell you a little bit about it. Me and my son walked in because from the outside it looked a little off. You always know it's a serious tackle shop when they're selling live shiners. That is a very specific live bait for largemouth bass. And so sure enough, you walk in and they had live shiners for sale. Very, very tiny spot. And at first I was bummed. I got to be honest with you. Not because of the shop itself, and I want to give them a shout out. So I grabbed one of their cards. Here it is. Pretty cool card. I was a little bummed at first, but it wasn't because of the shop itself. It wasn't what I was looking for. I was looking for the nostalgia of, going with my grandfather to a tackle shop and then many years later taking my kids to the same place. And so at first I was bummed. But then me and my son start walking around and we start looking. I will tell you, I spoke to the sweet lady behind the desk. I think she was part owner. I think it's a husband and wife team. They've been there about 4 years, which threw me off a little bit because they didn't have as much inventory as I thought you would have for 4 years of being open. I started looking at their baits and I picked up a few, and then I started realizing something that was pretty cool. The vast majority of the baits that they carry in shop are their own. They make their own plastics, they make their own jigs, they make their own crankbaits, floating baits, jerk baits, and the jerk baits, crankbaits, and floating baits, they hand paint. So that's kind of neat. That's a cool touch for me because you're starting to get into some of this stuff. This is a Berkeley Dime 6, and the Dime 6 is really neat. It's translucent. You can see through it. And it's cool. But you start getting into something like this that's just hand painted. It's just a really cool touch. I don't have many hand painted things. Here's another one. Picked up like a silver one there. You see that? It says the year on the bottom, BCT 24. It's kind of cool. Same thing here, BCT 23. I'm assuming it's the year that it was made. So that got me really excited because I'm like, man, this is all custom stuff. And it doesn't break the bank. For me, when we start talking about, baits like this, I don't get crazy. I'm actually building a collection just to the point where I can't carry it. I can only carry these types of baits in one bait box, one tackle box. After that, I move on to the next thing, doing the same thing with the jigs. Once I fill up a jig box, I'm done, unless one breaks. Plastics come and go, because you can't use them a ton. This is a Speed Demon blue and black. My son picked these out. Really cool jelly worm. Pretty sweet. I got these here, my baits. It's just like a pumpkin seed with a flake in it. So it's kind of cool. I got a 2 3/8 ounce jigs. I like a lighter jig. And so I got a Sunfish. And this one here is, they call it an AU. AYU. Really pretty jig. I'm really enjoying jigs this year. Got into throwing some jigs. So anyway, long story short, they were very, very polite, very accommodating. I didn't ask if I could film in the shop. I kind of wish I did. But the trip was great. We went to Corky Bells in Palatka. I tried to get the kids to sit outside, but we didn't really have that good of a wind. Now this all spills out into the St. John's. It's just a cool spot. You come down for lunch. Yeah, let's look down at some jet boats. People pull their boats right up. You can go up and have lunch outside, which is what we're gonna do. We're gonna sit outside. Look at this guy's boat. Holy moly, I don't know about that.
What?
And then we got a really big jet boat over here. That's cool. Well, it's a beautiful day out. It's not very hot. Pretty nice. It's a floating dock.
I want to go back. Oh my gosh, I almost fell.
It's cool.
Can we go back?
We'll go back in a minute.
Then it does.
Kyla's floating.
And it was really choppy the day we were here, so I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh,
It's beautiful.
oh my gosh. I
Dang.
almost fell.
All right, we got the gator tail. We got some fried pickles to start us off. Lunch is served. Seafood all around except this kid. He went with the cheeseburger, but I'm doing catfish today. It was just a great day. Family time is super important. I kind of like longer drives with the family, just to be able to talk and unpack the day and thoughts and things like that. And so we got to do that, and it was just fun. So anyway, I'm going to shoot some cool video on some of these baits, and we'll go from there. All right, I'm by myself here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this on camera. I'm trying to, folks. This is one of the custom baits from the Bass Tackle Capital. You can see it there. It's a floating bait. I don't know if you can tell, casts really well. It also gives a nice flash under the water. And you can retrieve it multitude of ways. Slow, fast, jerk, whatever you want to do. But so far, I'm really impressed with this. Bait. And I have yet to catch anything on it, but we're going to keep trying. Well, that's what you want. I've worked all morning for this catch. That is off the Bass Tackle Capital, one of their homemade baits. So thanks, guys. Really nice fish. Really nice fish. That's what I came for. See if I can zoom out a little bit. There we go. Yeah. Nice fish, man. Came up and attacked it really well. That's awesome.